The time is 12:11 on July 26th, 2020. My name is Mickey, and welcome to another rendition of the Backyard Bullshit podcast, where I am joined by Dealer and Coolhand.
Hey everyone, Dealer here. I got lost in LaGuardia's airport.
Dealer, that happens. This is your boy Coolhand. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, and to jump right into it, sports are coming back, and we're going to be talking about how we think the baseball standings are going to turn out, as well as how hockey and basketball, their postseason are going to go. But first things first, we had a topic on the last show that we didn't quite get to, so we're going to take care of that right now. And that topic is to add one player from an already existing team to make the absolute scariest lineup you can possibly think of. And we have to use players that played in the same era, so you can't put LeBron James on the 1980s Lakers, for example. And so we're going to go to Coolhand first, and then we're going to go to Dealer, and then I shall close out this segment. So, Coolhand, the scariest lineup you can think of. Who is it?
Alright, so I started thinking about the greatest teams of all time when we started thinking about this episode. And so I started going through, and I was looking at the 27 Yankees. I am going baseball. And I couldn't find anything to put on 27 Yankees. I was considering Walter Johnson, but that was the last year of his career. So I decided to go with maybe the second best team of all time, the Big Red Machine, the 1975 Cincinnati Reds. They finished 108-54 that year. There were 3 Hall of Famers on the roster, should be 4. Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame for other various reasons we won't get into now. They also had a Hall of Fame manager in Sparky Anderson. But the one thing they really, really lacked on that team was a quality, really good starting pitcher. They did have Don Gullett, who ended up having a quality, semi Hall of Fame-ish career, Hall of Very Good. So, with that said, I'm going to add Tom Seaver to the 1975 Cincinnati Reds. That year, Tom Seaver went 22-9 with a 2.38 ERA, led the league in strikeouts and led the league in building independent pitching. Had they had him, they did not have a single 20-game winner on that 75 Red staff, which is amazing for how many games they won. So you add Tom Seaver, they're just unstoppable. They probably won another 5 to 6 regular season games and really make a mark on history.
Now, did the 1975 Cincinnati Reds win the World Series?
Yes, they did.
And out of curiosity, who was their opponent?
They beat the Boston Red Sox. That's actually the famous home run by the catcher's. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Carlton Fisk, where he's waving his hands with the ball fair. That was actually that World Series.
Well, holy.
Yeah, they beat the Red Sox 4-3 in that World Series.
Well, holy moly. Quite a baseball lineup you got there of some amazing pitching. And so, we're probably going to stick with baseball with our next entry into this topic. Dealer, who do you add to what team to make your scariest lineup possible?
That one's kind of simple for me. You know, I really think that you look at the 2005 season baseball, your Chicago White Sox, and they were one of baseball's most dominating teams straight out of spring training. And they really dominated all throughout, even into the postseason. You know, I mean, they swept the Houston Astros, and they were a destructive team to deal with. I think that if you can add one player to really just, I mean, sweeping the World Series is huge enough, right? But kind of having to go to extra innings. Yeah, he lucked out there. So I'm going to go ahead and say give him a new shortstop instead of Juan Uribe, get Derek Jeter. That could be the offensive pop that would really push him over the hump. That it would really help them. You wouldn't have to sit there and kind of dabble around and worry about his health and his pop and everything. Derek Jeter would consistently produce, get on base, and let those sluggers knock him around. I think that would really have helped him. Solid defense, consistent bat. You had Derek Jeter of the White Sox. They're going back-to-back World Series, guarantee it next year.
All right. Dealer, so Derek Jeter to the 05 White Sox. Quite an offensive juggernaut you've built yourself there. And so, to end up this segment, I'm going to do my lineup. And when I think of a scary lineup, I want to think of a team that makes the opposition quake in their boots whenever they even think of playing on that team on their schedule. And so, in 1997, in the NBA, a small, rather inefficient player that you might have heard of by the name of Shaquille O'Neal was a free agent, in which he decided to leave the Orlando Magic and go to the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think to myself, what if he decided to ring chase? And so that's why I'm saying that for my scariest lineup, the 1997 Bulls, what if Shaquille O'Neal was a part of that roster? Shaquille O'Neal was still a defensive juggernaut as well as unstoppable in the post, and adding him to a lineup that had a pre-injury Scottie Pippen, a defensive juggernaut in Dennis Rodman, and of course the scoring genius that is Michael Jordan. That I think they break the 73-9 record set by the Warriors a few years ago. They'll probably lose a few games, but it's not gonna be many. And so that is my lineup. The absolute scariest I can make it. And we're gonna close out this segment. And we're gonna move on to the fact that sports are back, y'all, with baseball. Yes, for those of you who couldn't hear, that was Coolhand going, yay! So, baseball is back. We had our first few games here relatively recently. And now, Dealer and Coolhand are going to discuss what they predict the standings are going to be now with this expanded postseason. Dealer, take it away.
Yeah, boys, I'm really excited. We got more teams in this. We're cooking here for new baseball. We got 60 games. It's going to be a sprint to the finish. One game is worth 2.5 games from the regular season compared to regular. That's awesome. And then it's like we invited over half of the league to the Cool Kids postseason. Over half the league has a legitimate shot at getting it. This is like a sprint right here, man. This is phenomenal. This is what we all tune into baseball. You got meaningful baseball right now. You got teams that are 500 teams that shouldn't be 500 teams. You're sitting there looking at the Baltimore Orioles. You legitimately don't have a shot for the Orioles. But what you realistically do have is teams that were edge teams that you can now make. The Texas Rangers would have been in the postseason. The New York Mets would have been in the postseason last year. And it's fringe teams like that kind of threw in the towel last year by having an expanded postseason. You would have legitimately probably the Phillies not throw in the towel so fast by being so close to being able to make it in. It'd be super interesting to see what's going to happen here with the new teams and with the new playoff wild card series.
I'm super excited. I know we're all super excited to finally have baseball back. It's just wonderful. Now with this shortened season, 60 games, it's almost a college season at this point. Now they're playing every day and not, every weekend, that kind of stuff. But it's going to be exciting to watch, especially with all these extra teams getting into the playoffs. I mean, you're going to have at least one or two teams probably get in with a 500 record. And so really, unless you're like the Marlins, the Orioles, and maybe the Royals, or the Tigers, everybody really has a chance. You get hot at the right time. You have a good couple of weeks going into the playoffs. Who knows what's going to happen, especially when you start playing these 3-game series when you only really need 2 good pitchers. We'll see. It will make things more exciting. I think it makes things less fair, but it's a weird year. So fair is kind of a relative term in the turmoil times that we live in. So we'll see how that goes. There will be teams that get in the playoffs that probably don't deserve to be there, wouldn't really have a chance. But if you can get in, say you're the Rangers with a quality pitching staff, you're not going to really wear your guys out this year. And so we're going to be able to see starting pitchers go deeper into games, which is something that I'm super excited about. It's one thing I think that we've really lost over the last, decade or so is really the starting pitcher going 7-8 innings every game. But with the shortened schedule, you don't have to worry about the rack up on the arms, and it's going to be exciting. Every little detail is just going to become that much more important. Making the cutoff, going first to third, scoring that one extra run. It's going to be huge in this shortened season, especially since they're going to have to use tiebreakers for stuff too, which I don't know how they're going to figure that out. But it's just exciting that it's back. I know we're all pumped. Let's just go. Let's go baseball.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of changes that I don't like. I'm interested to see how the runner on second in extra innings plays out. I mean, we've already got to see it on the very first day of baseball. We got to see it with Joe Madden's Angels taking on the Oakland A's. And to me, if I was in that coaching position, Shohei Ohtani's automatically put on second base in the extra innings, tie ball game, 10th inning, you bunt him over, and then you sack fly him in. Just simple as that, right? That's what you do. But he didn't do
Or you
that.
get a walk
And
off.
then they loaded the
what?
well, then they loaded the bases, and the Oakland A's got out of the inning. They hit down to third, and they tagged Shohei Ohtani out, and the guy made the first. They loaded the inning, and the Oakland A's escape it. And it's just the weirdest thing, realistically. But I'm excited. I can see the player's perspective. If it's a Saturday night, you're playing 14 innings of baseball, 15 innings of baseball, and tomorrow's a day game, Sunday getaway day. You have to wake up even earlier. You don't want to be going through a marathon of baseball where you play a game and a half, maybe even 2 games like the Phillies did. So it makes sense, right? Especially on these 60-game things where you can't just say, throw away extra innings, we'll get boys. No, you really can't afford that. So it makes sense why there's a runner on second. I kind of want to see how this plays out. So far, I'm all on board for it staying. I'm not certain on putting a runner on second in extra innings. I think playoffs, you can't touch it. You have to have the runner on second not there. For regular season, by all means, but for playoffs, no way. That baseball game needs to be won the right way.
They basically follow the hockey model on that. During the season you have shootouts, and you have 3-on-3. In the postseason you have overtime. I'm fine with that. I'm not the biggest fan of runner on second. I understand why they do it. I have a feeling that sometimes it's just going to happen to be who happened to be up last in the last inning when you go to overtime. If you got some slow first baseman, that's going to end up being on second, or whether you have some, speedy little shortstop.
Yeah. Who wants to tune in to see
you should
Edwin
reward a
Encarnacion?
team that just got out. That's my only real issue with it. It is in this shortened season we have to have it. You can't have these games going 15, 16 innings. With even though the rosters are expanded, you just can't have these games going late. Even after this, I'm not necessarily saying the runner on second idea, but they got to figure out something to not have these ridiculously long games. I mean, I've been at a 15-inning game, and I love baseball. But after about 12, I was like, can you at least start selling beer again? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to those. They shut down the concession stands, and you're starving, and you're like, "Oh, I paid for this. I'm going to sit here and go to this free baseball. This is baseball. They're giving me extra, for free. I didn't pay for this."
it's nice for like I like extras for like an inning or two, but when you start really dragging it out, it's like, okay, let's get this game up.
Hey, it's Tuesday. We got to go to work tomorrow. Come on.
Yeah. It's already 11:30. Like,
pretty sure the parking lot's empty, and my car is going to get its tires taken off here in a few minutes.
All right, and to close out this segment, we briefly mentioned the teams that we know for a fact are not going to make this expanded postseason. But who are some fringe teams that y'all think will also not make the playoffs?
I think the Mariners aren't going to.
Yeah, I'm out on the Mariners. I'm gonna say the Mets don't make the playoffs.
Oof.
Really?
I think you can go ahead and write off the Tigers and the Royals. Those are
Tigers, Royals.
I'm gonna say
Marlins,
Indians don't make it. I'm gonna say the
Pirates.
Cleveland Indians. I could see the White Sox make it. I really can. They loaded up this offseason. They brought on Dallas Keuchel. They got Yasmani Grandal. They lose Robert. You have so many. Everybody in Encarnacion. You got the Sluggers. They bopped the Twins the other day. They got decent starting pitching depth. I think the White Sox make it.
Now, out of the National League West, who do you think does not make it?
Everybody but the Dodgers.
So two teams have to make it regardless. Padres will be the second team, but
yeah. Realistically, it's gonna be the Dodgers first and the Dodgers second. No.
Yeah,
I'll give it to Arizona for the seconds. You know what? Actually, we'll go Padres. We'll go Padres. Padres number 2. They're gonna shock people.
they're a good team.
Padres are going to shock people. And Arizona's going to get third.
Alrighty, and we'll see if our predictions hold true once the 60-game season continues to press on and wind down. Now, on to the winter sports. We're going to discuss hockey first, as their postseason is going to start relatively soon, and then we're going to go on to the NBA. Folks, the NHL postseason. Who do you think goes to the conference finals, and who are some teams that y'all think are going to surprise some people? I already know what Dealer's answer is going to be, but yeah. Who makes the conference finals, and who are some dark horse teams that people should pay attention to?
So the conference finals for me in the East, I mean, it's hard to argue with the Lightning. They're just so good. They're so good. I know I said this last year and they ended up choking balls, but they literally do everything well. Maybe a little lack of secondary scoring. That's about it. But they get enough first scoring that it doesn't really matter. And then my other team, I think it's going to be the Bruins.
They're in the same division as the Lightning.
Yeah, that's fine. They're not playing each other in the first round.
That's true.
So I think it might be the Bruins. It depends on where the seeding ends up. That's part of it too, is you don't really know you're not going to know what the seedings are until after all the weird stuff goes through. So, and then on the other side, I've got the Stars, and I've got the Predators. I think they're a pretty complete team as well, the Predators. And I just like the way the Stars are the most experienced team in the league, and I think that's really going to help coming out of this COVID lock-in, I guess. And then the team that's really going to surprise, I think it's going to be the Wild. I don't know why. There's just something about them. I like them. I've kind of got the Wild, mate.
All right, Dealer. Who do you think goes to the conference finals, and who do you think are some teams that people should watch out for?
All right, so the two teams to make the Eastern Conference Finals, that's going to be the Lightning, and we're going to go with the Capitals. And that one's kind of a simple thing there. It's just going to be high market money right there for the NHL. The NHL needs. Boston's going to get knocked out right before that. It's going to be a Game 7 kind of situation. Toronto, give them their advance one round. Give the NHL something there, a little bit with their money. Dark horse team, the Carolina Hurricanes. They're also going to go pretty far. Western Conference, you're going to go with the Golden Knights. Obviously, they're winning the cup, man. They got to go, right? And you got to go with the St. Louis Blues to go up against them. And your wild card team that just won't die will be the Minnesota Wild.
All right. Well, as for me, out of the Eastern Conference, I actually think it's going to be the reverse of what Dealer just said. I have the Bruins and the Capitals facing off each other. I think Tampa Bay gets knocked off in 7 games, maybe by Boston, maybe by another team. But after last season, I don't trust the Lightning. They choked majorly, so I feel like they're going to mess up somewhere along the lines. Wild card teams out of the East, I do think the Pittsburgh Penguins are getting slept on. Like, I think they're gonna they may pull a major upset over a favorite team. I can tell you one thing: it's certainly not going to be the Florida Panthers, despite their over 500 record. Out of the West, I have the Blues and the Knights going into the Western Conference Finals. Although I'm a little bit less confident in the Vegas Golden Knights than I was last season. I could very easily see a second team in that, or a different team in that second team spot for the Western Conference. I can very easily see the Jets or maybe the Avalanche go there. And I think the wild card team is going to be the Stars. Like Coolhand said, that is a very veteran roster in a playoff full of young guys. So I feel like their mental fortitude is going to hold up a bit stronger than everyone else. But they just need some defense and some secondary scoring. So those are my predictions for the hockey playoffs, and it's going to be a good time. Hopefully players don't catch corona and stuff. And so, yes, that too. And so we are now going to move on to the second winter sport, and that's the NBA. And we're pretty much going to do what we did for hockey. We're going to list off who makes it to the conference finals of each, conference, and then we're going to look at some dark horse teams. Coolhand, why don't you lead us off?
All right. Well, I'll start out east. I'm going to go with the Bucks. That's a pretty obvious answer. They're a pretty good team. Giannis is the best player in the league right now. And they do have secondary scoring. I am a little concerned on their big men up front, but other than Giannis, but that depends on what you define him as. And then the other team I'm going to go with, I think the Orlando Magic are going to shock the world and somehow get to the Eastern Conference Final.
That's a bold claim right there.
Yeah, I said shock the world. I think they're more of a complete team, I think, than people get them credit for. They're deep. There's a lot of talent on that roster. Their starting five is actually pretty good. And the rest of the East is kind of a joke. I wanted to say the Celtics. All the Celtics do is fucking choke since Brad Stevens has gotten there. So we'll see how that goes. And then out west, I'm gonna go a battle of LA. I got Clippers, Lakers. I know there's players missing from both teams for opting out and all that kind of stuff, but in the grand scheme of things, their big players are there. They're going to be all right. My wild card teams to keep an eye out for, I guess I already said the Magic. Magic or Celtics. Celtics are a good team. And then the other side, I'm going to go the Pelicans. I think they're going to be the most interesting to watch with Zion getting back. They were one of the top 10 teams in the league when Zion got there before COVID hit. So I'm really interested to see that. I'm also going to throw the Grizzlies in there. I'm a big John Moran fan. So that battle for the 8-9 spot between those two guys, former AAU teammates, by the way, is going to be pretty fascinating.
All right. Well, for me personally, I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference as well. I think we're going to see Milwaukee in the conference finals. I mean, I have very few disagreements with Coolhand on that. For the second team, however, I really think it's going to be Toronto. Like, Toronto, the only thing they're missing this season is Kawhi. Like, that team is the number 2 team in the East for a reason. And just their bench has stepped up. Pascal Siakam has emerged as a premier talent, and his ceiling is much higher than everyone anticipated. And I think we're gonna have a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals, except this time with the Bucks winning. Although I am worried about Milwaukee's 3-point shooting, because last season when they played the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals, the shooters went cold for the Bucks, like ice cold. In terms of the wild card teams, I really think people can't rule out Philadelphia. I don't think they're going to make the conference finals, but that team is just so tall, and so like Joel Embiid, if he's healthy, is one of the most dominant players in the NBA. And then Ben Simmons, they used to play him at small forward, then they had him at point guard, and now they're putting him at the 4 spot. Just there's a lot they can do with that lineup, and while I don't think they make the conference finals, I think they're going to be a team to watch. Out of the West, I actually don't think one of the LA teams makes the conference finals. My conference finals pick are the Clippers and the Nuggets. And my reason for that is that the Lakers, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they're going to dominate like they do. But they have so many injuries at the 1 and 2 spots, and some of the 3. That is a significant hole in their offense and defense. And a lot of those players were veteran players. So now they have to bring in older players that haven't played in quite some time.
J.R. Smith.
Yeah. So, the living meme that is J.R. Smith. So, I don't think...
How much time there was?
So, I think the Lakers get bumped out in either the first or second round. Just, like, teams are going to exploit that weakness in the backcourt. Their front court's going to be dominant as ever, as previously mentioned. And then the Clippers, they don't have they're missing some players as well, but their weakness isn't as big as the Lakers. And just like the Lakers, their big names are there too. Kawhi is, in my opinion, the best player in the league over Giannis and LeBron. And then Paul George is going to be Paul George, hopefully, because in the playoffs he kind of has an iffy performance. So those are my picks for the conference finals, Clippers and Nuggets. The team to watch out for is the Oklahoma City Thunder. No one saw this team coming. Everyone had written them off. And they might surprise some people. And then I'm cheating here and saying here's another team people should watch out for, and that's the Mavs. Porzingis and Luka, that's a deadly combo. And so to wrap out this segment, Dealer, we know basketball isn't really your forte, but is there something you'd like to add? Maybe an opinion from the outside that maybe we haven't considered just yet?
Nuggets and Nets win it.
The Nets, the team who's missing half of their players.
Yeah. I think the Nuggets and the Nets, those are the two. We're going to have a Nuggets-Nets championship because it's going to have a net full of Nuggets kind of championship.
Aren't you clever? All right, so that's going to round up our discussions on how the seasons are going to go for the resuming sports. We will discuss the NFL once it gets closer to the season. This is normally what I'd say we'll talk about it once the preseason starts, but we might not get a preseason at all. A lot of players of every sport have been opting out. And for example, in the world of baseball, Buster Posey opted out because he just recently adopted twins that were born prematurely. Now, this has caused some controversy, meaning some people are upset at the fact that maybe their favorite players or some players that were very substantial to their team's production are no longer going to be a part of the season. So, Dealer and then Coolhand, what are y'all's thoughts on players opting out?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Really, this is a weird season, and if you gotta do something to make sure that you stay healthy, or that your newborn stays healthy, or that your children who could be compromised stay healthy, because the last thing you want to do is go off to play a sport that was optional when you've already made millions or whatever it is, and you killed your kid. Can't fault them on that. No fault on the people that opt out because they don't want to kill their family members, their loved ones, whatever it is, or they don't want to see them, And, you got people who talk about how lonely it is right now, that they're wandering the cities of these visiting cities, and they're just kind of like going for a run just to be out near people, but they don't want to talk to people. They want to be near people in case of exposure. And, if you got a loved one at home, maybe you got a little one or something, I completely understand staying at home and, waiting this one out. We really don't know this spot the world is in right now. And if you want to call it, Buster Posey, he's won. Nobody doubts his loyalty to the Giants. Nobody doubts his talent. He's extremely talented. He's won millions of dollars, got the world championship, and he's reached out to help out these two premature twins. That's 100% a good call in my book. And even if you're just a player who was scared, like Nick Markakis, he was scared about Freddie Freeman saying that he thought he was going to die. You can do that. This is 2020. There is no tough guy. We've seen plenty of tough guys end up on the wrong side, of history right now, where they end up dead. This isn't something that you wanted to be doing.
So, I agree with the players. If you have the means to be able to not have to play this year and, can afford to take the year off, essentially, that's fine. But I also don't blame the guys that are like, no, I got to go play. I got to make a living for my family. And we all put our lives on the line to go to work. Even a pizza delivery guy has to drive around all day and put his life on the line just driving around going to work. That's part of life. Okay? Now, I completely understand and I completely agree with these guys opting out. If you really don't feel comfortable, for one, you're not going to play up to your level anyways if you're not comfortable in the scenario that you're in. So if you're not going to feel that way, if it was in a bubble like the other sports were, I think it might be a little different story. Just because, you're going to be away from people. You're going to be away from all that stuff. All these places that have done bubbles have had 0 positive tests once they've been in the bubble. So, MLB is the only one that's allowing people really to go in and out. And to be fair, a lot of people have to be away from their families for 3 to 4 months at a time. My father worked in Nigeria growing up, and he rotated there 3 months there and a month back for 4 years. And so sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do to help your family. And so the guys that did decide to play, I can appreciate 1,000% why they wanted to play, why they had to play, so they could make a living for their family. But then there's also the other side. You know, if you notice, most of the guys opting out aren't, you know, no-name guys making the league minimum. It's all the Nick Markakises, the David Prices. I think Joe Ross might be the smallest name that opted out. And that's because these guys can afford to do it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised that Mike Trout, once he has his kid, he disappears for the rest of the season, which is fine. I can appreciate that. And if you have the availability to do it, then do it. But also for some of these guys, baseball is what makes them normal. And so they need to be able to go to work. They need to be able to play baseball every day, you know. They don't necessarily have the means at this point to be able to take the year off. And so, again, it really does count down to the option of the player, and I can appreciate both sides of the story. So, I agree with everybody in this particular case. If you want to opt out, opt out. If you want to play, play. And don't let anybody else tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, no disagreements here. You got a family to take care of. Do that. That's your priority. So, before we sign off, I know last episode we teased that we will be having another Backyard Showdown, but then, man, it's a topsy-turvy time that we live in. But to prove to y'all that we have not forgotten about it, I want first Dealer and then Coolhand to reveal who your pick is for your DH, your designated hitter, for your Backyard Showdown team comparison. And we're going to start with Dealer.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. It's going to be the one, the only, the Barry the Bonds. He would fit so well in a DH role. He would stay even healthier without having to worry about, you know, playing in the field or anything like how the San Francisco Giants made him. I think he would be primo. Even though they said this guy took roids, you still got to have talent to hit the ball that far.
This is true. All right, so Barry Bonds for the DH of whatever team name Dealer decides to name his team. Coolhand, who will your DH be?
Mine's pretty easy. This is a guy I've been cheering against for a long, long time. And I'm finally happy to have him on my team. That would be Albert Pujols.
Ooh.
Albert Pujols
will be my DH.
All right. Well, folks, there's a little tease for you of the upcoming Backyard Showdown Round 2. And that will wrap it up. That'll wrap it up for us here at the Backyard Bullshit podcast. My name is Mickey, and thank you all for listening. And I am joined by Dealer and Coolhand. Why don't you sign us off?
Alrighty, guys. Dealer here, and my flight is departing.
This is your boy Coolhand. Y'all stay cool. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and stay healthy out there.